My dear students, I hope to be fine. Today we will discuss a new topic. It's called annuity. Actually, this lecture is designed to be one example based lecture. We will give example about small depositor called Ahmed. Say Mr. Ahmed go to the bank to deposit certain amount of money. He intend to invest 1,000 Egyptian pounds over a specific period of time, which is 5 years. The bank will give Ahmed on his amount 7% as interest rate. As we discussed before in the lecture of compound interest, you can find the accumulated value of any principal amount deposited at the beginning of any period by applying equation of future value, which is S equal B times 1 plus I power n. So by applying this equation, S equal 1000 times 1 plus 7% power n, which is 5. So Ahmed will get after 5 years 1,402 Egyptian pounds. This is a case of future value of single amount, because Mr. Ahmed deposited one time 1,000 Egyptian pounds. But say Ahmed want to invest or want to deposit series of amounts. He want to deposit 1,000 in year 1 and deposit another 1,000 in year 2 and another 1,000 in year 3 and 1,000 in year 4 and 1,000 Egyptian pounds in year 5. This case is called annuity. Why? Because Mr. Ahmed deposited 5 times equal amounts, 1,000 Egyptian pounds, periodically. He deposits in each year over a specific time period, which is 5 years. So today we will learn how to find future value of annuity. The future value of accumulating 1,000 deposited 5 times over 5 years. Mr. Ahmed and the banker discussed how this deposit will be stored or will be invested, which means the banker asked Ahmed when you want to deposit your amount. If Ahmed deposits his 1,000 Egyptian pounds at the end of each year, this is a case of ordinary annuity. But if he wants to deposit the 1,000 Egyptian pounds at the beginning of each year, this is a case of annuity due. So we have two types of annuity. Ordinary annuity, in which the depositors can deposit his amount at the end of each year over the specific time period. But annuity due, in which Ahmed can deposit 1,000 at the beginning of each year. So he will deposit 1,000 at the beginning of each year over the next 5 years. This is a case of annuity due. The basic questions will be: what is the effect of using either ordinary annuity or annuity due on the calculations of future value of the annuity? We will discuss how to find the future value of an ordinary annuity. If Ahmed will deposit the first amount of 1,000 at the end of each year, he will deposit 1,000 at the end of the next year, and the second amount will be deposited at the end of the second year, and so on till year 5. So at year 5, Ahmed will deposit 1,000 and will calculate the future value of the previous 4 times deposited in the previous 4 years. In other words, at the end of current year, say year 2020, Ahmed will not deposit any amount. He waits till the year 1. At the end of year 1, say at the end of year 2021, he will deposit the first amount. Why? Because ordinary annuity, you will deposit at the end of the interest period. So he will deposit the first 1,000 at the end of year 1, which will accumulate over the next four years. Why? Because he deposited at the end of year 1, his first amount will get interest from year 1 to year 2, and from year 2 to year 3, and from year 3 to year 4, and from year 4 to year 5 at the end of year 5. So the first deposited amount will get interest over 4 years, and the deposited amount at the end of year 2 will get interest over the next 3 years, and the deposited amount at year 3, the third amount Ahmed will deposit at the end of year 3, will get interest over next 2 years. The deposit amount at the end of year 4, which is a fourth deposit, will get interest just for 1 year. The deposited amount at year 5 will get no interest because he specified to end his investment or deposit period at the end of year 5. So the accumulated value of 1,000 at year 5 will be 1,000. You can apply this equation to accumulate each deposited amount. So he will accumulate the first 1,000 to be 1,310, and accumulate the second deposited amount to be 1,225, and accumulate the third amount to be 1,144, and so on. So the future value at the end of year 5 will be 5,750 Egyptian pounds. But this method takes time, so it's called long method. Fortunately, we have equation by which we can find the future value of ordinary annuity in one step. But we have one condition to apply these equations. The deposited amount must be equal. This is a case of annuity in general. So if we have equal amount of cash flow over a specific period of time at the same interest rate, we can apply these equations. Again, we have one amount, which is 1,000, well deposited 5 times over n equals 5 years at the same interest rate over the 5 years, the same interest rate, which is 7%. And we want to find the future value at the end of the 5 years. So we can calculate what is known as future value interest factor for annuity. Its equations will be 1 plus interest rate power n minus 1 divided by the interest rate. After the calculations of future value interest factor for annuity, simply you can multiply this factor by the cash flow or the deposited amount, which is 1000 in our example. So the future value at year 5 will be 1000 times the future value interest factor for annuity, which is 5.7507. We can interpret this factor if Ahmed deposit just one Egyptian pound at the end of each period, will be accumulated at the end of year 5 to be 5 Egyptian pounds 0.75. But Ahmed doesn't deposit 1 Egyptian pounds. He deposits 1000 Egyptian pounds at the end of each year. So we can multiply the factor which is calculated based on just 1 Egyptian pounds by actual amount deposited by Mr. Ahmed. So the accumulated value of his deposited amount will be 5,750 Egyptian pounds. We can apply this equation directly. Future value equal cash flow times the future value interest factor for annuity. We can get the future value interest factor for annuity from the table. You can look at the period column and go to number 5, because we have a value of n equals 5, and go through the interest rate row till you reach 7%. You will get the factor equals 5.7507. So we can get this factor to find the future value of depositing 1000 Egyptian pounds at the end of each year over the next 5 years. The second type of annuity is annuity due. Remember that annuity due indicates Ahmed will deposit 1000 at the beginning, not at the end, at the beginning of each period of time. So Mr. Ahmed will deposit the first amount of 1000 Egyptian pounds at the beginning of each year. Let me agree on one rule, simple rule, logic rule, which is at the end of year 1 is equivalent to at the beginning of year 2. At the end of current year is equivalent to at the beginning of year 1. At the end of year 2020 is the same to say at the beginning of year 2021. Again, to say at the end of year 2020 is the same to say at the beginning of year 2021. So, annuity due involves depositing the same amount at the beginning of each year. At the beginning of year 1, which is the first interest period, is the same to say at the end of year 0, which is the current year. So at the end of year 2020, Ahmed will deposit his first first amount of 1,000 Egyptian pounds, and which is due at the beginning of year 1. And at the end of year 1, he will deposit the second amount of 1,000, which is due on the which is due at the beginning of year 2. At the end of year 2, he will deposit the third amount of 1,000, which is due at the beginning of year 3. And at the end of year 3, he will deposit the fourth amount of 1,000, which is due at the beginning of year 4. And at the end of year 4, he will deposit the fifth amount of 1,000 Egyptian pounds, which is due at the beginning of year 5. Which means the first amount of 1,000 that is deposited by Mr. Ahmed will accumulate it over 5, not 4 as the case in annuity, ordinary annuity. Because at the end of current year, which is the same to say at the beginning of year 1, will earn interest on the year 1. From the beginning of year 1 to the end of year 1, you will get interest on such year. So the first amount will accumulate over the 5 periods, and the second amount will accumulate over for the next 4 years. The third one will deposit for the fourth amount of 1,000 will get interest over the next 2 periods. The fifth, the last amount of 1,000 will get interest on for just 1 year. So by applying the accumulated value of single amount, we can find the accumulated value of the first 1,000 to be 1,402, and the second 1,000 will be 1,310, and so on. And the last amount will be deposited at the end of year 4 will be accumulated for just 1 year to be 1,070 Egyptian pounds. So the future value of all previous 5 deposit amounts will be 6,153. Difference between Before discussing the difference between annuity due and ordinary annuity, instead of doing several steps, we can also applying shortcut equation as we did in the case of ordinary annuity. Shortcut equation to calculate future value of annuity due equals the cash flow, the equal cash flow, in our case the deposited amount of 1,000 each year will be multiplied by 1 plus interest rate power n minus 1 divided by interest rate. This is the future value interest factor for annuity. For ordinary annuity, we will add this term 1 plus the interest rate to reflect the interest rate for extra 1 year in case of annuity due over the ordinary annuity. So the future value at the end of year 5 will be 1,000 times the future value interest factor for annuity times 1 plus 7% will be 6,153. we can understand the difference between ordinary annuity and annuity due as follows. We will recall that ordinary annuity in which the deposited amount will be at the end of each period. So at the end of year 1 will be the first amount. At the end of year 2 will be the second amount, and at the end of year 3 will be the third amount. At the end of year 4 will be the fourth amount, and at the end of year 5 will be the last amount. All these amounts will be deposited and get interest rate to be accumulated at 5,750 Egyptian pounds. We can use shortcut equations to get this amount in one step by multiplying the deposited amount as a single amount times future value interest factor for annuity, which is 1 plus interest rate power n minus 1 divided by interest rate. Case of annuity due, which implies Ahmed will deposit at the beginning of each period of time. So at the beginning of year 1 is the same to say at the end of the current year. So at the end of current year he will deposit the first amount, and at the end of year 1 he will deposit the second amount, which is due in year 2. At the end of year 2 he will deposit the third amount, which is due for at the beginning of year 3. At the end of year 3 he will deposit the fourth amount, which is due at the beginning of year 4. At the end of year 4 he will deposit the last amount, which is due at the beginning of year 5. So at the end of year 5 the last amount will be accumulated for just 1 year. But in case of ordinary annuity, the last amount of 1,000 Egyptian pounds will be done at the end of year 5. So it will not get any interest or any return on this amount, because at the end of year 5 is the ending period, or the ending interest period, or Mr. Ahmed intend to invest over which. Annuity due can, in case of annuity due, we can find this amount or this future value of annuity by just applying the equations by multiplying 1,000 times future value interest factor for ordinary annuity and adding the difference or the extra interest for 1 year for each deposited amount to get 6,153, because in the first amount deposited in case of annuity due will get extra 1 year above or than the first deposit amount in case of ordinary annuity. In short, in case of ordinary annuity, the first 1,000 deposited at the end of 1 year will be accumulated over 4 years, but the first amount deposited at the end of current year will accumulated over 5 years. The second deposited amount at the end of year 2 will accumulated for 3 years, but the second amount deposited in case of annuity due will accumulated for 4 years, and so on. So each deposited amount in Annuity Due has extra interest over the corresponding deposited amount in case for the ordinary annuity. This is the reasons why we add this term to find the future value of the same amount deposited in case of Annuity Due and ordinary annuity at the same interest rate over the same specific period of time, which is 5 years. Thank you. We will discuss next lecture, inshallah, topic of present value of annuity. Assalamu alaikum.